I just made a mistake. A big one. I hired my best friend.
How long ago?
4 months. And it's already falling apart. He's late on deliverables, he treats the team like they're his buddies, and when I try to have a serious conversation about it, he pulls the "come on, it's me" card. Like our friendship is supposed to override everything.
Did anyone warn you?
Everyone warned me. I didn't listen. I thought, who better to trust than someone who actually cares about me?
And that's exactly the trap. You trusted him because he was close. But closeness is a terrible filter for competence. And worse, it made you blind to things you'd have caught in a stranger on day one.
So what, I shouldn't trust the people closest to me?
You should trust them to be human, which means trust them to have their own interests, their own blind spots, their own version of your relationship. What you shouldn't do is assume that loyalty and ability are the same thing, or that affection protects you from betrayal.
That's a cold way to see it.
It's an honest way to see it. Think about why you hired him. Was it because he had the best resume, the best track record? Or was it because when you imagined the hard days, you liked the idea of having someone next to you who already knew you, someone comfortable?
The second one.
Right. And comfort is the enemy of good judgment. You made a decision based on feeling safe rather than being strategic. And now you're stuck because firing your best friend isn't just a business decision anymore. It's a personal crisis.
Yeah, I can barely sleep over it.
That's the hidden cost nobody talks about. When you bring friends into high-stakes situations, you're not just gaining loyalty. You're adding a layer of emotional complexity to every decision. Suddenly, honest feedback feels like betrayal. Accountability feels like a personal attack. And the other person, your friend, they're trapped too. They can't tell if you're their boss or their buddy, so they default to whichever one is more comfortable, which is always the buddy.
Okay, but I've also seen partnerships between friends that work. Businesses built by people who grew up together. You can't tell me those don't exist.
They exist, but the ones that survive usually work because both people understood from day one that the friendship and the partnership were two different things. They drew a line. Most people can't draw that line. Most people don't even know they need to.
So your advice is what? Only work with strangers?
Not strangers, but consider this. Sometimes the person you should bring closest is someone who has every reason to prove themselves to you, someone who doesn't take your goodwill for granted, someone who knows they have to earn it. And here's the part that sounds counterintuitive. Sometimes that person is a former rival, a former enemy.
You're gonna have to walk me through that because it sounds insane.
Think about what a friend brings you: comfort, familiarity, warmth. Now think about what a former rival brings you: hunger, vigilance, a desperate need to demonstrate that they belong. They know you didn't have to choose them. They know the history between you, so they work harder, watch themselves more carefully, and never, not once, assume that your door is always open. They know it could be lost.
But you'd be constantly watching your back.
You should be doing that anyway. The difference is that with a former rival, you're already alert. Your guard is naturally up. With a friend, you're relaxed. And relaxed is when you get blindsided.
Okay, but this sounds paranoid. I'm not running a medieval court here. I run a company with 12 people.
Let me tell you about someone who actually was running a medieval court. Abraham Lincoln.
Civil War era Lincoln?
When Lincoln won the presidency, he did something no one expected. He filled his cabinet with his political enemies. William Seward wanted the presidency and resented Lincoln. Salmon Chase actively campaigned against him and thought he was intellectually beneath the office. Edwin Stanton had publicly mocked Lincoln as a backwoods lawyer. These weren't allies. These were men who had tried to destroy his candidacy.
And he put them in charge of everything?
He put them in charge of everything. Secretary of State, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of War, the most powerful positions he could offer. And people around him thought he'd lost his mind.
I kind of agree with them.
But here's what happened. Each of those men, because they owed their position to someone they hadn't expected generosity from, worked with an intensity that no loyal friend could match. Seward became one of Lincoln's closest advisors. Stanton, who had humiliated him, became fiercely protective of Lincoln's legacy. Not because they suddenly loved him, because he'd put them in a position where their success depended on his. He turned opposition into obligation.
That's an unbelievable amount of confidence, though. To put someone who hates you in a room and hand them power.
It does, and that's why most people don't do it. Most people surround themselves with mirrors, people who reflect back what they already believe. It feels safe, but mirrors don't challenge you. They don't bring new information into the room, and they definitely don't fight for their seat at the table because they already feel entitled to it.
But Lincoln was Lincoln. He could manage those personalities because he was a political genius. Most people would just create chaos by hiring their enemies.
Fair, and I'm not saying go find someone who despises you and give them your passwords. The principle is subtler than that. It's about understanding that gratitude earned from an unexpected place is more powerful than loyalty assumed from a familiar one. If someone already loves you, what do they owe you? Nothing new. But if someone thought you'd never give them a chance and you did, now they owe you something that goes deeper than friendship. They owe you a revision of who they thought you were.
That's actually kind of beautiful.
And incredibly practical.
All right, let me push back though, because there's a dark side here. If you go through life treating friends with suspicion and enemies with open arms, you end up alone. People aren't chess pieces.
You're absolutely right. And this is where people misread the idea. This isn't about treating your friends badly. It's about not giving them passes they haven't earned in professional contexts. It's about recognizing that friendship creates a fog, a warm, pleasant fog, and that fog hides things. When someone is your friend, you explain away their failures. You attribute their mistakes to circumstances. You give them the benefit of the doubt so many times that by the time you finally see clearly, the damage is done.
And with enemies, or let's say rivals, you see everything.
Everything. Every flaw, every potential betrayal, every mismatch. Your defenses are up. And paradoxically, that means if they do earn your trust, it's real. It's been tested. It wasn't just handed over because you once shared a beer in college.
So how does this actually apply? Say I'm building a team right now. What do I do differently?
First, separate your personal relationships from your professional decisions completely. If your friend is the best candidate, hire them, but hold them to the exact same standard you'd hold a stranger. No softer deadlines, no private conversations to smooth things over. If you can't do that, don't hire them. You'll ruin the friendship and the business.
And the enemy part?
Look for people who would surprise others. Someone from a competing team. Someone who challenged your idea in a meeting and was actually right. Someone who doesn't owe you anything yet and knows they'll have to prove themselves. Those people bring energy that comfortable friends simply don't.
I had a guy interview last year who used to work for our biggest competitor. He was sharp, maybe the best person I talked to, but I passed on him because I thought, what if he's still loyal to them?
And you probably hired someone safer instead.
I hired a referral from a friend, the one I was telling you about. Yeah, I walked right into that one.
Look, I'm not saying your friend is a bad person. I'm sure he's not. But you chose comfort over capability. And the irony is that the person you didn't trust, the competitor, probably would have fought harder for you because they had something to prove. Your friend had nothing to prove. He already had you.
There's something in human nature there, isn't there? We reward closeness over capability. We hire the person who makes us feel safe, not the person who makes us better. It's like we're wired for it.
We are. It's tribal. For most of human history, the people closest to you literally kept you alive. Your family, your clan, your village. Trust was built through blood and proximity. But we don't live in that world anymore. The person sitting across from you at a business dinner isn't protecting you from predators. And treating professional relationships with tribal logic, my people versus outsiders, leads to exactly the kind of blind loyalty that sinks companies, partnerships, and careers.
But there's something sad about that, right? The idea that closeness can be a liability. I don't want to live in a world where I can't trust my friends.
Then trust your friends. In friendship. Trust them to show up when you're grieving. Trust them to tell you when you have spinach in your teeth. Trust them to remember your birthday. But when it comes to power, money, and ambition, trust the process. Trust evidence. Trust the person who earns it daily, not the person who earned it once and coasts on history.
You know what really gets me? The part about Lincoln. Those men who mocked him. If he'd been petty, if he'd been like most of us, he would have shut them out. and he would have been surrounded by yes men who let the country fall apart.
Instead, he built the most effective cabinet in American history by choosing people who owed him nothing except the chance he gave them. That's not just political genius, that's an understanding of something deep about human nature. People fight hardest when they know the ground beneath them isn't guaranteed.
My friend, I still have to deal with him,
Yeah, you do.
and it's going to be awful.
It is. But the longer you wait, the worse it gets for both of you.
You know what's funny? If I'd hired that competitor, that stranger who had everything to prove, I'd have no problem giving honest feedback. I'd have no problem setting expectations. But because it's my friend, I've been tiptoeing for 4 months. The closeness didn't protect me, it paralyzed me.
That's the whole lesson, really.
Keep your friends close, but maybe don't hand them the keys just because you love them.